Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Letters of Light. We are in the middle of letter Shin. This is part 2. If you have not listened to part 1, go back and find part 1. Yeah. We're going to get there 100%. We're going to get there. We're going to get there 100%. So we spoke last week a little bit about the letter Shin. We could not finish it. We tried skipping around a little bit. And we ended up getting to source number 14, on page number 4. That's where we kind of left off. We skipped around a little bit, but I want to go back from right there. So what we said last week is that Shin is an expression of Sha'amar Dai, that God said it created boundaries for the world, that if you don't have boundaries, things will continue to grow infinitely. And ultimately, what makes God's power so profound that he said, enough, stop. And Shabbat, by the way, which is also Shin, is this concept of contraction. Right? If the whole entire week is about becoming, Shabbat is about being. It's a state where nothing is moving. It's Shabbat, things are stopped. It's like, right, we spoke about the beach, the chuppah, the chof, the idea that the chuppah is open, but it's also the boundary that protects two people in a marriage, the promise to be to you and to you alone, to no one else. That is what the letter Shin is an expression of. We also spoke last week about the letter Shin as it's related to Sheker, which I want to kind of revisit. And before we started recording, we had a little conversation about markets. I don't know why that happens, but anyway, it does. The idea that, we're living in a generation where truth is lost. There's a famous pasuk in the Nevi'im. They say that at the end of times, it says that ve'amet ye'ne'ederet, that truth will be hidden or lost. And I never fully understood what that means. Like, how do you lose something that is true? Right? This cup over here is a hot cup of tea. Can you prove to me that it's a cup of cold water? No. There's no way you can't change my mind. There are certain things that are just obvious. But how do you lose truth? So you lose truth in several ways. And I think I'm sharing this because I think it's important. Shin and Sheker have a very deep relationship. The word for falsehood, Sheker, is Shin Kufresh. These are 3 letters that are all right near one another, but they're out of order. Whereas emet is aleph, mem, taf, first letter, middle letter, last, right? And truth is all-encompassing, beginning, middle, and end, right? But if you lose any one of the letters, if you get rid of the last letter in emet, you have im, you have if, you have a question, right? If you lose the first letter, you have met, you have death, you can't get to the truth. With sheker, right, even though the shin, right, has some connection to truth, because shin did not want to be part of sheker, you get rid of the first part of the lie is always an exaggeration. You're left with rak or kar, right? You end up killing that lie by going after that first aspect of what someone's stating. So if I'm saying that, the Jews control the media, so it's true and it's not true. We do control some of the media, but we certainly don't control the global media, right? Mamdani had this great line. He said that the police in New York City, when they have the boot on your neck, that boot is laced by the IDF. That's what he said, right? He said what? He said that when a police officer has his boot on your neck, know that boot was laced by the IDF. It was tied by the IDF, right? That's what he said. That's his quote. Don't make a amen if you're listening to this on this video, but if you're here, Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam shehakol niyeh bidbaro. Anyway, so why am I sharing that, right? So he is the epitome of sheker, right? He is for sure a wolf in sheep's clothing. He presents himself as always smiley, very warm, in his fake tears for his aunt who was afraid to walk out, which is not even true. All these things are all sheker. Now, why is he doing all this? What's his motivation? Well, it's obvious what his motivation is. His motivation is to take control for the city, empower Muslims in the city to take more of a control from the city, right? And by doing so, pushing out the Jews. Why? Because the Jews of New York are one of the largest supporters of the state of Israel. So he wants to make it illegal for Jews in New York to make donations to anything in Israel, because you're supporting the IDF, and the IDF is a colonial power, right? It's all part of this plan, you understand? So the way you stop Israel and you destroy Israel as a state, as the only democratic Jewish state in the world, and turn it into a Muslim caliphate is by getting rid of the Jews first. You follow the money, get rid of the money here, and eventually, so now what's his platform? His platform is also sheker. This is a communist socialistic program. Why is that the program that leads to so much chaos? Now it's interesting, Khomeini, right, when he rose to power, he also started with a deep partnership with the left. And you know what he said? Free buses, free apartments, free grocery stores, the same exact lines. And then my question is this: why is it that socialism is a tool for the Islamists to take over? And let me explain to you why I think it's such a powerful tool, and why this tool by the socialists is such a corrupt way of thinking. I have two explanations for it, and it's all tied to the letter Shin. You'll see. Okay? So, you like it? Well, I'm glad you guys came today. Anyway.
The Shin looks like a fence.
It does look like a fence. That's right. And there's different kinds of shins, actually. There's a 3 shin and a 4 shin. We spoke about last week. Anyway, so the idea is very simple. When I tell you, hey, I said this earlier in the morning, right? Don't you want to give free busing to people that need it? And you'd say, of course. I mean, what about free housing? People are poor. They need housing. How could you not want to house the poor? How could you not want to have food for the people that are needy? You're obviously an immoral person if you don't want to do this. You're a sick, twisted, selfish capitalist who only thinks about yourself. You're a Jew, right? And therefore, we don't like that. Now, this idea that we could support everyone and give everything to anybody for free is absurd. It's the ultimate way of weaponizing the sympathetic psychological system of a human being. Of course, every college student wants things to be free. I would love for everything to be free. I don't want to work. I don't want to have to, spend time and running around and figuring out how to support my family. I'd much rather have a nice, what's it called? A nice fund that sends me a check every single month, right? And I don't have to worry about it. I'm good. My food comes to me every day. My Uber Eats, I just put it in. It comes. I don't have to worry about anything. But this is a fantasy. Right? No one does anything for free. Every single socialist country has always led to the death of millions and millions of people. It doesn't work. There is no system that works. Right now, the best system that we are aware of, and it's not the best system, it's the best system that we're aware of right now, is a capitalistic system where people are taught to have high levels of morality and empathy. My responsibility is to provide for myself, care for my family, and whatever I have more than that, if I'm not being selfish, do you mind closing that door? Is for me to go ahead and give and support the poor people of my community, to give and support the poor people of my town. That is what my job is. So when socialists talk about these grand programs, of course everyone wants those things. I want those things. But I know what ends up happening is that as you take away things from people, as people lose their rights and their individuality, because you have to surrender everything you have to the state. When you consolidate power into one small area and a few group of people have that power, we know that power corrupts. And we know that absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So it's going to corrupt everybody. This is why, by the way, some of the wealthiest people on the planet are Palestinians who are living, who are the leaders of the Palestinian community, who've taken the billions of dollars. Like Yasser Arafat's daughter is worth $7 billion. Why is she worth $7 billion? What did her father create? What did he do? What did he build? What did he achieve? The guy was a terrorist. She's living in France. What about all these other, what's it called, Palestinian leaders who are multi-billionaires? How does that make any sense? There's something like $40 billion that has been stolen from the Palestinian people in the pockets of the leaders who want them to be poor so they can enrich themselves, continue the conflict as much as they can because their ultimate goal is one goal. I want to destroy the Jewish state. Why? Not because Jews are colonialists, because we all know, if you're a thinking person, that, the greatest colonizer on the planet are the Muslims. Islam started in Arabia. Why is Islam all in North Africa and all over the Middle East? Lebanon, by the way, was a majority Christian country, right? What happened to all the Christian Lebanese? Their Kimat don't exist. What about all the Christians in Iraq or in Syria? They're gone. How many of the Christians today are being murdered and killed in Africa? Is anyone protesting in the streets? Have you heard anyone stopping and let's protest against Nigeria? No. Let's talk about Jews in America. Why are we being targeted in America or in England? There was yesterday there was an article on October 19th. There was a Jewish lawyer who walked to a pro-Palestinian protest outside of the Israeli embassy. This is a lawyer. He was just there to film the crowd, and he was arrested for wearing a Star of David. And the police officer said, your Star of David can provoke the crowd. You're the problem. Meaning, instead of saying we have to protect him, he's not doing anything, he's just the bystander, we're going to arrest him because he's provoking the crowd. It's upside down thinking. They're more concerned about the Islamic uprising than they are of upholding their own laws and values. So how do you get there? You get there because you don't have a clear backbone and understanding of what your moral principles are. This is how sheker starts. It starts by twisting a little bit.
I was trying to show you a video before on YouTube.
Well, I can't watch it right now.
They leave from the hood, so to speak, get on, and they say, "You take away my staff from me, I am going to steal from you."
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. So again, these are crazy people. They want to turn Black Friday into something else. They want to protest. They want to they want to burn the streets down in New York. It's not going to happen.
They're actually saying they're going to commit a crime. That's what's incredible.
Yeah, it's all justified because of their twisted socialist thinking. Now, what's interesting is that every democratic country in the world was built on what I would say Judeo-Christian values. There is no democratic country in the Islamic world. Why is that? Why is it that Jews and Christians are able to protect other people's freedoms and individuality, but in Islamic countries they cannot? It's interesting. And I have lots of theories as to why. But at the end of the day, when you have a religion that is built off of concepts like, we are the people that are interested in peace, we are the people that are interested in, and bringing peace to the world, when in reality, we know that so much of what the Quran speaks about is, stolen from the Old Testament and the New Testament. There's nothing there about, and then the rest of it is about how you have this Islamic warlord who's trying to conquer the world. That's all it is. It's a manifesto of how to conquer nations. It's not a religion. It's a death cult. It pretends to be a religion. It's not. I can go ahead and take advantage of every single system, right? Look at what Pakistan looks like, and look what's happening right now in England. It's a disaster. So if we are not clear about who we are, another example of this, ready? Another example of the lies. How many people today are protesting against Russians in America? Forget about Russian Jews, just Russians in general. How come there aren't protests outside of the Russian embassy right now that they killed millions of people in Ukraine? This is happening today in 2025. How come no one's holding flags out and talking about freeing, Ukraine from Russia? How come that's not happening?
How come about Sudan?
Yeah, all those countries. And the point that I'm making is that it's not about truth. It's a lie. These are lies. They clearly have another agenda. It's either the anti-Semitic, hatred that blinds people to the point where they can no longer see truth. But I really truly believe that the reason why people get to that point where they're so easily blinded is because they were never taught to think critically. No one knows what truth looks like. No one understands that seeing is not believing. That's a mistake. We all think, it's interesting, that truth, as far as vision, is the highest expression of reality, and we know that's not true. By the way, you know who made that mistake? The Greeks made that mistake. They thought that if it can't be measured, it can't be touched, it can't be seen, it doesn't exist. But there's all kinds of things in the universe that I can't touch, feel, or see that are super important for the underpinnings of reality. Atoms, molecules. The Greeks couldn't comprehend those kinds of things, right? If it wasn't in sight, it didn't matter. I was completely, I ignored those things. That is not the Jewish concept. The Jewish concept understands that the highest expression of truth is shmi'ah, of listening, right? Hearing people, right? Listening. Shema Yisrael. When we say Shema, we cover our eyes. So some people just cover their eyes like this, But the real custom for the Sephardic community is that we cover our eyes, we take our pinky in our left eye, our thumb in our right eye, like this. And you know what these three letters are? That, my friends, is the Shin. That's the Shin, right? We're always looking for this expression of a yearning for reaching up to a higher level, pulling down, godliness in this world. And the way we do that is by striving to eradicate sheker from this world. I want to live in a world of truth. So these other people out there, they say all these crazy things. No one's thinking, no one's asking questions. And you know what ends up happening? You look at photos, and I love using Iran as an example, of all of the college students, all the girls who are in their jeans and their t-shirts in Iran, supporting these new socialist, principles. 2 or 3 years after, they finally got what they wanted, they were either in jail, arrested, killed, or a whole bunch of other horrible things that I don't want to even talk about. The same girls. By the way, how many Jews in Germany were in support of Hitler's Nazi party? Students, college students. Sounds great. That's socialist programming. How many Jews in Russia were very behind Stalin and his socialist programs? Same thing. Now, why doesn't it work, right? The reason why it doesn't work is because we believe that, spiritually speaking, that reality where everything will be taken care of cannot happen until Mashiach comes. There is a real need to lower rent and stabilize rent. It's crazy in New York City, no question about it. We do need to think about how to solve those problems. But just, surrendering it and taking on a whole other social system that will end up causing more harm, and we've seen what it does historically throughout the world, is suicide. That, my friends, is not an option. So what is the responsibility? Ready? So imagine for a moment you're at a wedding, and you're getting served that second course. The soup comes out, and the waiter, instead of serving you soup, he puts the huge pot of soup right in front of you with a ladle. What goes through your mind? What are you thinking? I love soup. Obviously, this is for me. And you take the ladle, you put it in the soup, and you start. Now, you do that, you look like a Chazar. Obviously, if the waiter put that bowl, that huge pot of soup there, he wants you to distribute the soup. This is what the Chachamim say about wealth. When you see extreme amounts of wealth, God isn't putting that huge pot of soup in your lap so that you could drink all of it. He put it there for you to distribute it. That is something that unfortunately most people don't do. There's not enough charity that is being given in the world. That's for sure. Too many people are only thinking about taking, and not enough people are thinking about giving. And this is where the world is broken. In a marriage, if a husband and a wife are thinking about only taking from the other person, can that marriage succeed? No, can't succeed. In a marriage, the only way for any marriage to truly work is for two people to be willing to give unconditionally, altruistically. That, my friends, is what real love looks like. That's what the definition of a real marriage is. It's never just thinking about what I'm getting from this person. It's always about having that paradigm shift about what can I do to help and support you. Rabbi, I wish I could show you my phone and show you all the messages I get from people that are fighting. I could write a book of just text messages to the rabbi. She said this, he said that. I'm like, stop being a baby. She wants me to change overnight. I'm not changing overnight. We're only married for a few months. Like, well, what's her problem? I'm like, she's fighting with you not because she wants to divorce you. She's fighting with you because she wants things to work out. Are you willing to fight to make things work? But instead, his response, he's so deflated that he just thinks, this is impossible, I can't make this marriage work. I'm like, you've already lost the marriage. So I have to convince him that he and she are worthy of being adversaries to make the relationship work. Because when we see pain and fighting, we're assuming it's just very, very bad. Can't be good. When in reality, that pain and the fighting is designed specifically for that couple to overcome that battle and become closer and more connected and so on and so forth. That's the way it works. Anything meaningful requires a tremendous amount of effort to overcome. All right. Anyway, that's my introduction. So that was a 20-minute introduction. All right. So, okay. We are number 14, right? So the Shin with 3 heads alludes to the patriarchs, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, while the 4-headed Shin alludes to the matriarchs, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. So if you look at the tefillin of a man, right, he wears the shel rosh. On one side of the tefillin, he has a Shin with only 3 branches. On the left side, he has a Shin with 4 branches. And this represents the fathers and the mothers. Now, why would I put this Shin and that concept over here? So we've spoken about this, that the tefillin itself is always worn on your less dominant hand, right? So the left hand represents justice, judgment. It is the weaker hand, right? Not the right hand represents kindness. We don't carry swords in our right hand. This is metaphorical. We carry them in our left hand because it's weaker. And we carry the myrtle branch, a offering of peace, in our right hand. We're always more aggressively pursuing peace than we are justice. And therefore, for a man, part of his avodah, part of his work is to take the justice and bind it down. Stop being so critical. Stop complaining. That's what the tefillin is there for. You wrap it around over here. You'll notice when he wraps it, he has a sheen that he makes with the straps over here. Same concept over there, right? The desire to connect to Shamar Dai. God said, create boundaries. We're creating boundaries. We're binding ourselves down. He makes the dalet over here. We spoke about the dalet way before, right? He has the box of the tefillin pointing and digging into his heart, right? Why? To remind him that he is an emotional being, and all too often is motivated by his emotion and not enough by his reason, which is why he wears the shel rosh on his head, to remind him that he's supposed to be someone who is thinking critically, someone who is searching for truth, someone who represents both the masculine powers of the patriarchs and the feminine powers of the matriarchs, because we don't believe one power is better than the other. We believe you need both. A society cannot exist with only women. As much as it sounds so cool to have a society of Amazonians running around, it doesn't really work like that. You need to have masculine powers and feminine powers joining together, right, and making the world a better, greater place. When any one of those powers takes over and dominates the other, there's a problem. There's supposed to be a partnership. A partnership. Islam wants to dominate the feminist power. They believe that women have no right or expression of identity, which is why the only thing they can do is have one eye open right now. There's actually a huge debate whether or not they could have 2 eyes open. It's too much power for the women. If they see 2 eyes, not good.
Does that have to do with tzniut?
No, it's about control.
Control, right?
This, my friends, looks as what tzniut is. A woman can express herself in Judaism, right? She can't be overly, exposed, obviously, because there has to be some level of dignity, right? But she has her own identity, right? You could be attractive, but not attracting. There's a difference, right? There's a very big difference. I could give you stories. I have infinite stories of what the difference between attractive and attracting looks like, right? But we want you to be attractive. Go buy nice clothing, get your nails done, get your hair done, and be out there. The goal isn't to suppress. The goal is to build, encourage, develop, and so on and so forth. The goal in Judaism isn't for a woman to sit home and pop out kids every year. Of course, we're going to prioritize, right? If we have 2 people in a relationship and a woman is a better caregiver than the husband, and the husband is a better breadwinner than the wife, then let the husband be the breadwinner, let him support her, and let her raise the kids. And that's why, by the way, for a woman, she's able to surrender all of her spiritual obligations to the development of her family, because the development of her family is paramount. That comes first. And then, so she does not have to pray as much. She does not have a mitzvah, no tefillin, no tzitzit. A man needs those things, because when you're out in the world and the whole entire world is trying to undermine you and destroy you, you need to be anchored down to something that reminds you about what truth is. Why am I really doing this every day? What am I doing out here? So the ideal reality would be for a couple to have enough resources where after she's finished raising her children, she could go get a higher education. She could strive to develop her mind and her soul. We don't want our women to be uneducated. We don't want them to be subservient. We want them to be partners with us. There has to be some semblance of humility. There has to be a level of support and understanding. Obviously, all those things are important. But it's not about dominating the other. That's not what we want. That's the curse of Adam and Eve. Hu yimshal ba, and he will rule over her. We don't want a moshel. We want a melech. A moshel is a ruler that you serve because he's forcing you to serve him. That's not what we want. We want a melech. A melech is someone that you appoint as a king. I want to be married to someone not who I fear, someone who I love. I want to respect you and honor you and care for you and provide. I don't want moshel. I don't want to be like that. Oh, he's coming home. We got to get ready. It's out of what's the motivation, right? So that's what we want. This great partnership. The tefillin represents the shel rosh, these two shins, the 4 and the 3, is the bridge at the center of our mind where we're trying to unify these two different forces and bring them together. That's what Judaism wants. There's a woman. She's a Bas Tshuva. Her name is Allison Joseph. Do you know who she is? Is it Allison Joseph or Joseph's? I don't remember. But anyway, she has an organization called I think it's Joseph's. I don't remember it. She has an organization called Jew in the City, or Jewess in the City. I don't remember. Anyway, it's Jew in the City. So she recently did this amazing video. She took 3 adults and said, "I want you to act like a Jew. Start acting like, what if you had to act like a Jew, what would you do right now?" So they could do whatever they want. They could get props. So one guy runs into the room and he puts on a peyot and a beard and he's like this, the whole entire thing, whatever it is. He's like, that's what a Jew is. The girl, she goes on, she takes her cell phone, she's like, "Mommy, I'm at Bloomies and I'm trying to, whatever it is." And she's like, that's what a Jew is. And the other guy gets a bunch of pennies and he's like this, counting 1 penny, 2 penny, And they're all falling into the typical tropes of what a Jew is, right? And it's fascinating to watch. It's uncomfortable, but whatever. Then, this is so brilliant. She asked 4 children, "What does it mean to be a Jew? Act like a Jew." And one said, to be a Jew means to give charity. And the other one said, to be a Jew means to do kindness for others, to care for the poor and the needy. Very different ideas. Where does it come from? Where do our adult ideas of what it means to be a Jew really comes from? Because if you're not tainted and you're that pure child who looks at the world from a lens of truth, right? He hasn't been programmed yet by society. He will tell you that being Jewish is something completely different than what the adults think it is. And maybe that's why so many Jews struggle with their own identity, because you've bought into the falsehood of what it means to be a Jew. When in reality, to be a Jew means to be someone who is reflecting godliness in this world. You're trying to bring truth into this world. You're trying to do good in this world. You're trying to help the people that are in need in this world. It's not about your own ego. It's about being selfless and loving. That's what we want. Those are the kinds of children we want to raise. To raise kids is a hard thing. And we think that we're instructing our kids how to behave. We're not. Our children are observing us. It's through osmosis. It's never articulated. Our children are not, we don't tell our kids to be good. We don't tell our kids to be kind. They learn those things by watching us. So who is the greatest paradigm for a child in terms of learning what a relationship looks like? Their parents. And for better and for worse. And sometimes we screw it up, we get it wrong. And hopefully we get it right more than we get it wrong. But the one thing that is never told to a child is something like this. It goes like this. Ready? If 2 people are in a relationship, and they're in that relationship because they are interested in taking from the other, the child understands that the purpose of life is to take. That's what love is. Love is about taking for myself. It's always about me. But a child who watches two parents, what I would say is who are truly in love, and that is the word ahava in Hebrew is the shoresh of hav, which means to give, right? But if two people get to a point where they truly understand that to love is to give. It's not about what I'm getting for, not about what have you done for me. It's what have I done for you. When children see that, you know what they understand? That the purpose of life is to give and not take. So which child will build the world and which child will destroy the world? The children out there right now who are protesting, give us these free programming. So there's a great, I posted it yesterday on my status. It says, it's a picture of like John F. Kennedy, ask not what you can do for your country, but ask, right? So there's that. And then you have like AOC saying like, give us these things. Very different. A world of, and you see how far the Democratic Party has shifted, right? One's talking about being a servant of the state, and the other is saying, no, the state owes me these things. These are my rights, my obligations, right? These are the things that you have to do for me. In a world where I have to do for you, it's never going to be enough. It's never going to be enough. I've shared the story once before. I went to visit a friend of mine in California, and he wasn't married yet, and I walked in, I had 6 kids, and he's like, you're crazy. I'm like, why? He's like, you have 6 children? He's like, you're so irresponsible. Don't you believe in birth control? I'm like, I do believe in birth control, but I believe in having as many kids as you could possibly have. So he says, I'm like, why am I irresponsible? He's like, there's not enough water. He's like, there's not enough clean air. There's not enough food on the planet. You're selfish. You're selfishly having these children for yourself and not even thinking about their future. You're a selfish person. And I looked at this guy and I'm like, Amir, listen to me. I love you. I'm like, I'm not selfish. I'm like, you're selfish. My children are not the problem. They're the solution. He's like, why? I said, because my children are not here to take the water. They're here to help serve the water. It's a difference. It's all about your perspective. In a world where there's never enough, it's because I've bought into this I'm taking attitude. It's about me. In a world where I'm here to love, it's about me giving. There's infinite opportunities for me to share and provide. It's never about a lacking of anything. It's an abundance of amazing options. You could literally put on your gloves every day and go out there, and there's so much to do. But when you're always thinking about yourself, right? It's only about you. There's never enough of anything. We want balance. The 2 shins are about achieving balance. The gematria, number 15. I hope we're going to finish this today. We're not. All right. The gematria of 300, Shin, represents the fact that an average lunar year of 354 or 355 days, because 354 and a half days, tefillin are worn on about 300 days, because 54 days is Shabbat, you can't wear, and then the holidays, you can't wear it. So after subtracting Shabbatot, the scripturally ordained festivals, the name of the vowel, shuruk, consists of the same consonants as the word sheker, falsehood. Therefore, this vowel does not appear in any of the divine names that may not be erased, nor is it found in the 10 Commandments, which were completely based on truth, emet, a teaching symbolized by the letters Taf, Kuf, and Shin, the acronym of emet. So too, the names of the patriarchs and matriarchs are referred to as Zera Emet, seeds of truth, as found in the Yirmiyahu. That's what we want. We want to live in this world where we are spreading the seeds of truth. And he says in the Levush, a reason for the preservation of the 4-headed Shin on the tefillin is given by the Levush. The name of Hashem, the Yud Kei Vav Kei, maintains in its gematria the number 26. According to the Tanya, Parashat Shemot, the alphabet section, the 4 letters of his name correspond to the letters Tzadik, Mem, Tzadik, right? Which equal the value of 300, which is the gematria of Shin. So you have this expression of truth and godliness being expressed in the deepest level of even God's name. The Gemara says, we did this last week, the Shin, the upside down world, right? The son of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi fell into a coma, and when he got up, his father said, what do you see? He said, I see the world is upside down. I love this Gemara, by the way. You have to read this Gemara every single day. Number 17, copy it, paste it, and remember it, okay? What does the Gemara say over there? He sees this guy had a near-death experience. He died. Came back, and he told his father, I saw the upside-down world. Those who are on top of the social ladder here were on the bottom there, in the spiritual world. And those who are on the bottom here were on top over there. His father responded, my son, you have seen a perfectly clear world. Why is that the vision of a perfectly clear world? Because we think that God is out to get us, but in fact He is not. He loves you more than you could possibly imagine, and He wants to give you everything. But the reason why you don't see everything is because you don't understand that God gives us challenge for us to become great. The people that have everything, God pushes away from you. He's pushing, I don't want you guys. You have everything. You figure it out. Extreme of anything is a sign you got to be careful. You have too much wealth, too much of anything is a problem, right? Because it's so easy to think that it's all for you, when in fact it's not. It's the responsibility of you sharing. Gemara in Shabbat says that each letter in the alphabet carries a symbolic meaning. The letter Shin can denote Shem, name, referring to the name of God, or Shakai, both holy, powerful symbols. However, even this lofty letter can be corrupted when combined with a kuf, associated with the kof, the monkey, a mindless mimic, a resh, associated with rasha, evildoer. Together, they form the word sheker, falsehood. That's not what we want. So the Shin can be corrupted once you add the wrong set of letters to it. We want to try to live in a world of truth. The Zohar and Maharal says as follows: when the letter Alphabet came before God, asking to begin creation with them, Shin made it its case. I represent Shakai, the essence of perfection. But Hashem answered, true, you stand for my name, but in the world below, even divinity will be mixed with evil and deception. Your neighbors, Kuf and Rish, will draw you into forming Sheker, falsehood on earth. So even though Shin is this concept of boundaries, you can't deny the power of a boundary, pushing away the falsehood of life. But God creates the letter Shin surrounded by neighbors that could take away its truth. It could mix it up. And our job is to figure out how to sort through this stuff so we could actually get to the truth in this world. In the world of truth, everything becomes obvious. What we think and what we value has there's a whole different set of calculations up there. But and by the way, I finished reading that book by what's her name on the sign. Horrible book. I'm sorry. The reviews were better than the book itself. But the idea that you're going to communicate with people in this she lost her husband, and she writes about how she was trying to. I thought it was going to be a guide to communicate with people and try to have these it wasn't that. It was just whatever, a lot of emotions. But anyway, but there is this concept of NDEs, near-death experiences. There's hundreds of them. My favorite, when I was a college student, I studied psychology. I did the psychology of death, and I did a report on near-death experiences. And when I was doing it, it was back in the good old days when people really got an education. I had to go to the library, something called microfilm, to Anyway, I was shocked. I mean, I did this in 1995. This is before the internet, before you could just search everything on Google and have Wikipedia, a corrupt system of socialist left-leaning propaganda. But in the old world, where things were really documented, there was one story of a woman. She was born with great vision. She had an accident when she was 10. She lost her vision. She was 54 years old, and she, in the hospital, died. She was dead for 47 minutes. She came back to life. And she got up, she was still blind, and she told the doctor, I saw my spirit flying over my body. She's like, yes, it's a very common symptom. It's the mind, there's this and that. She's like, you don't understand. She's like, I saw you. You have 3 pens in your pocket. She's blind. You have 3 pens in your pocket. There's a painting behind me on the bed of a flower pot. There's the nurse was standing. She starts describing the room with uncanny detail. Unbelievable, scary stuff. How could she do that? How does the mind able to project itself in a way where it could see down? How does a blind person see when their eyes don't work? So I'm telling you, my friends, there is a spiritual realm that is real. You are a soul that is housed in a spacesuit called the body. The body is not what you are. This, at some point will come off. But there's a deeper part of who you are inside. And what makes this world so profound and so powerful is that you get to shape what that deepest, truest part of you looks like. Don't allow yourselves to get distracted by the world of the material. Enjoy what the material has. But that's not the bane of your existence. We are here for one reason alone. We are here to refine ourselves. We are here to choose the kinds of people we want to be. That's why we're here. Everything else, my friends, is a distraction. So, although Shin comes after Kuf and Resh in the alphabet, the word Sheker is placed first. This illustrates the idea that even lies need to wear the mask of truth to be persuasive. A lie that is completely absurd, a man is a stone, will be dismissed outright, but a lie cloaked in truth is dangerous. That's why Mamdani, my friends, is so dangerous. The guy's a liar. Kuf and Resh remain the natural alphabetical order, giving the illusion of order and logic, while Shin is displaced, signaling distortion of reality. We spoke about that. God created truth, falsehood, in man's creation. Hence the saying, Sheker lo nivra v'lo nithava. Falsehood was never truly created. Why? The letter Sheker, falsehood, is adjacent to the alphabet, symbolizing how close-knit society can propagate lies. In group settings, people often stretch the truth to appear interesting or important, which quickly leads to distortion. To sustain a lie, one must tell more lies. Sheker darko lehit paresh. Falsehood begets more falsehood. We see this all the time. You start one, and you can't stop. When falsehood sought to entry into Noah's Ark, it was refused unless it had a partner. The only being willing to accompany it was Oni, right? Bad luck. Being willing, right? So what is it for me, he said? Bad luck. Falsehood said, whenever I earn, whatever, I'll give to you. From then on, the fruit of falsehood is misfortune. They're a partnership. When you keep lying, you end up bringing more and more misfortune to one another. The letters from the word sheker, number 25, top of page 6. Sheker, kuf, shin, and resh appear near the end of the alphabet, far removed from its center point. In contrast, letter mem, situated in the middle of the alphabet, symbolizes balance, truth, and stability, because real truth has to have a beginning, middle, and an end. You don't have like this weird stuff. Symbolized by balance, truth, and stability. The more distant the letter is from the center of the alphabet, the more it is associated with instability and deviation from the axis of truth. The Maharal. Had Shin, the first letter of Sheker, been the last letter of the alphabet, it would have symbolized a world where falsehood has the final word. This is the second to last letter of the alphabet. Why isn't Shin the last letter? Why isn't falsehood all at the end? It can't have the final word, leaving mankind adrift in lies and moral relativism. However, Shin is not the final letter. The alphabet concludes instead with Tav, which represents Emet, the last letter, truth, right? This conveys a profound lesson. Truth begins, sustains, and completes the world, whereas Sheker is close together and unstable. Emet is placed out and balanced, representing consistency, endurance, divine purpose. The fact that the alphabet does not end with Shin but Taf is intentional. It is emphasizing that ultimate purpose of creation is rooted in the covenant of morality, not deception. The Muslims will never win. Not all the Muslims, the radical Muslims will never win. Shin, while powerful and even holy as in Shakai, can also be corrupted. So Taf stands for Torah and Tachlit, ultimate purpose, and Torah comes to anchor the system of eternal truth. That's what we want. As Jews, you're here because your family fought to maintain a Jewish identity, to maintain our traditions. Why? Because when they looked at the world, they saw the world was lying. The Romans, the Greeks, the Babylonians, they did not build a society that was based on truth. It's intrinsic. You can't stomach the falsehoods of the world around you. You want to live in a world of truth. The Shin is composed of 3 vavs, each with a yud on its top, rising from the common base point. The form of the Shin symbolizes symmetry in all level, world, souls, divinity. Its shapes resembles flames of fire, as does its phonetic sound. The Shin is a letter of fire. The Shin has the fiery flames coming up from it. It is trying to do something profound. I want to do this number 28, and then we'll leave the last page for next week, and we'll segue from Shin to Taf with that last page. So number 28, on the bottom of page 6. One of the 8 synonyms for beauty in Hebrew is chen. I could go through all of 8 with you at another time. Yofi, there's a whole bunch of them. So beauty of malchut relates to the property of symmetry. So chen is specifically about symmetrical beauty. Okay, this alludes to the verse of Noach matzah chen, and Noach found grace in the eyes of God. The word chen, right, grace, is a symmetric invert of the name of Noach. Noach chen. You see it there? Right? Okay. So Noah, in the eyes of God's grace, the symmetry of an invert named Noah, in the eye of the image of sight inverts, for which reason the pupil of the eye is called the Ishon, right? A little upside down man. The letter whose form poses the most revealed state of grace. That letter whose form is most visible, linearly, right, symmetric, is the Shin, the middle of the end of the alphabet. The form of the Aleph, the beginning of the alphabet, possesses the most subtle state of grace. Angular symmetry represents the grace, symmetry of the soul. Together, these two most graceful letters of the soul and body spell Esh, fire. At the general level of the worlds, the Shin of Esh represents the physical flame of the fire itself, bound to the coal or the wick, while the Aleph represents the surrounding medium of air. In Sefer Yetzirah, the Nun stands for Avir, air. Air is soul or spirit. Neshama is an acronym for Avir, a level of the worlds, necessary for the fire to burn. The word Chen equals 58, the sum of the 7 components of the form of the Shin. 3 yuds form yuds above 3 vavs on the yud of the base. The sum of the component of the Shin is 58. And its gematria is 358, which equals Mashiach, whose anti-being, the snake, Nachash, also equals 358. The snake symbolizes the false, deceiving grace of this world, whereas Mashiach is the true grace, the secret of Noah found grace in the eyes of God, of the coming world. Noah, the 10th consummate generation from Adam, and the central personality at the end of the first portion of the Torah, the portion of creation, hence to the future perfection of creation by Mashiach. The mathematics of modern physics is based on symmetry groups, where the property of symmetry serves to cancel out undesirable phenomenon and thereby establish subtlety, the stability and harmony in nature. In a rectified world, true grace and symmetry eliminates, cancels out evil, thereby proving that in truth, evil never really existed. It is all an illusion. So we want this concept of chen, of grace, of the shin in the letter chen itself, this concept that we're in a deeper level, the Nachash 358 and Mashiach 358 gematrias are the same. Because ultimately, truth is something that can be twisted and perverted. We call this world olam the shikra, a world of lies. We call the olam emet, the olam haba, the other world, and we're not there. So it's not surprising to me that we see so much falsehood being spread. It takes a tremendous amount of spiritual, intellectual energy to find the truth. But the good news is that it's out there. The good news is that the truth cannot be corrupted. It always comes out. All these people spreading their old stupid lies, whatever it is, they're going to be called out. The Tucker Carlsons and the Candace Owens of the world, and these other insane people will be called out for their stupidity. In time, you will see, we'll get there, Bezrat Hashem, sooner than later. I want to wish you an amazing week, Bezrat Hashem. We'll continue the conversation next week. Have a great week, everybody.